So what are some of the key skills and attitudes needed to be good at NLP?
I think one of the key skills of NLP actually is just letting go and shutting up. It's not having too many thoughts or ideas in my head, so I just let whatever you're saying soak in, so I can actually interpret what you're saying without having too many of my filters on.
Okay, and what is the meta model?
The meta model actually runs quite well through to what I was saying. The meta model was when Mander and Grinder modelled Fritz Perls, Ericsson and Virginia Satir, and they came up with this questioning system that came up with questions based on the language the client used. And the really good thing about these questions is, by asking them, it helps you get what may be under your consciousness, it brings it up to consciousness. By asking very simple questions based on your language, it enables you to understand if you've deleted things or you've left things out, if you made assumptions that aren't quite true, if you've made generalizations. And the end of the important thing about that is, as I say, you can take stuff that is just below your consciousness and raise it up. And when that happens, you'll find that some issues or problems that people had do actually disappear.
Okay, and what is the Milton model?
Curiously, the Milton model is almost the opposite. The Milton model is coming up with a structure of language that has a direction but very little content. And one of the delightful things about the human brain is if you're listening to me and you're interested in what I'm saying, and I'm giving you a structure with very little content, you put your own content onto that structure. What's interesting is, because if that's your content, it will actually begin to make sense to you and be really interesting to you. But what that means is it's actually a way of unlocking your own creativity. I'm not interfering with your creativity, I'm giving you a structure and a direction to use it so it can be used for something useful to you, but actually you fill in the details. And it's a structural language that poets use, that politicians use, that salespeople use, that, as I say, has the ability of helping the person that you're talking to unlock their creativity.
Is there anything else that's particularly important?
Attitudes, I think, is a really interesting one, which we covered before, but not on this particular segment. From my point of view, useful attitudes are curiosity, because if I'm curious, I will come over as being interested to you. Tenacity is really important, because if you had an issue, I want to be tenacious enough that I'm just not going to give up. We're going to work until we find an answer. I think that's something else that's interesting about NLP. It's not that it's necessarily instant or it's necessarily mystical, but it's that state with, if we're working together to solve something, there will always be an answer. And it's a question of just working through various things until we find that answer, until we find that key.
Michael Beale, thank you.
Thank you.